Andrew Mack here with MMA Island. Today I'm with Julian Connerton. Julian, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. So, you're fighting on the Art of Scrap 6, I believe, on April 29th, right?
Yep.
How you feeling right now? That's Wednesday? 3 or 4 days away, something like that. How you feeling?
I feel good. Training's good. It helps a lot given that we're six. We got six of my teammates on the card, and we're all flying out together. We all got an Airbnb, doing the whole fight week thing with the media and then weigh-ins and all of that. We do all of that stuff together with. It's like 11 or 12 of us all together. So it's brings a peace of mind being with all of them and being able to support each other. And it's kind of stressful time, and being able to joke around with your friends and people you grind with alleviates some of that stress.
So your gym's in Maine, but Art of Scrap's in like Illinois or something. So where's their connection there?
Yeah, Artist Scraps in Indiana, and
Indiana.
yeah, so Nate, which is my coach at Evolution, knows Mike Lee, and the Lee brothers who own Art of Scrap. And I'm unsure of how we went out there the first time. I wasn't there for the first time they went out there. I was still not a part of the fight team yet. Um, But now Mike Lee brings his guys to NEF. Like there's a couple of the guys from Indiana that compete for New England fights, which is pretty dope. And they come to Evo and cut weight. So the relationship with Nate and Mike Lee kind of they flip flop with us going out there and their guys coming out here to compete, which is dope. I mean, Mo Ben fought Bobby Kelly, and Bobby Kelly came to NEF and fought. I think he fought Faulkner or somebody around here that's a pretty big name. So we're all bouncing around in between there, here and there.
Awesome. So let's talk about you. What's your background in martial arts? How'd you get into it?
Uh, I did a little bit of karate when I was younger, but that was just more of like your mom's like, I want you to be able to protect yourself, so she throws you into some kind of martial art. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in a pretty rough area, so fights were just some like school fights and after school fights, and then people playing basketball and end up fighting and stuff like that. So it's not some fighting wasn't something that I was like not used to. But I played football for 13 years, and I used football as like my driving course to get me out of the rough situation back at home. So I had a couple offers from like some schools closer to home. So I went and visited Rutgers, and I went and visited Bryant. Rutgers was too close to home, and Bryant University was just I didn't really get the vibe there. It was like preppy and really like business centered. So I met the coach from UNE, the defensive coordinator at Rutgers specialist camp. And when I visited those two places, it was about time to make a decision. And I just was like, I guess I'll just shoot this guy a text. So I shot the coach at UNE a text, and I was like, I'd love to come up for a visit. I know it's kind of late. So I came up to Maine and stayed overnight for a visit, and the vibe was good and everything was fine. So I was just like, you know what? It's the answer to getting away from home, and it's something that I'll just take a shot in the dark and do. And so I took a shot in the dark, and then once COVID happened, I quit football, found Evo, and haven't turned back since. I mean, the athletic ability from football kind of transferred over to MMA, but everything's homegrown here and trained hard and learned all of these different skill sets within the past 2 3 years.
So how'd you find Evo?
During COVID, I mean, like I kind of like convinced myself that like once it was over, I was going to find an MMA gym. And during COVID, I stayed on campus because COVID was a lot worse in New Jersey, and my mom was like, just stay in Maine, and I ended up just staying on campus in one of the dorms for 3 4 months. And I remember just being in a room, and I was like, there is nothing to do. Like I just played the game, and that was it. I mean, some people love that, and I would look back, I'd probably play the game a little bit more now because life's a bit crazy right now. But I was like, once this is over, I'm gonna find an MMA gym. So I put on my old boxing gloves, and I would just hit the football pad, like the foam pad on the field goal post.
Yep.
And I started doing that. And then I looked up a couple gyms. It was Evo, Recon, and Nostos. And I went to Evo, walked in there. Facility was beautiful. And I just started hitting the bag and taking some of the classes here and there, and then kept showing my face, kept showing my face. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got into Yuba.
So before you went into MMA, you started with Muay Thai and kickboxing bouts. What made you take that decision?
That was my coach's decision, and I highly appreciate him for it. Like I said, the MMA stuff wasn't really like, even just let alone MMA, let alone like individual competition, sports competition by yourself. I've always been in team sports, so being an individual and being the only one in the cage was something that I've never experienced before. So before I even took an MMA fight, we all knew that MMA was my final goal. MMA was my what I wanted to do. So my coach made me do a couple Thai fights to get used to the outside factors, like being able to perform in front of a crowd, people booing you, people cheering for you, being able to listen to Nate in the corner give you advice. I remember my second fight, I end of the first round, I just remember like staring at him and looking at him and just saw his mouth moving. I didn't hear anything he was saying. I just saw his mouth moving. And I would look up and then look into the crowd and look back down. And then you hear the horn go off, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't hear anything he just said. So that's kind of what the Muay Thai stuff was for. It was for the stuff that outside of fighting that you're not really prepared for, the nerves and all that stuff.
So besides the obvious stuff like the groundwork and the clinching and all that stuff, what would you say is like the big differences between kickboxing, Muay Thai versus MMA?
Um, the mental approach. Um, the mental approach for sure. I mean, everybody's fight or flight gets activated once you get in the cage and you hear the door locked. It's more of like a you're in there to fight and that's that. So you have these big gloves on, you have shin guards on, and you have elbow pads on. So you know you feel a bit more protected. And you know you have these 8 parts of your body that you can use. You can use your fist, you can use your elbows, you can use your knees, you can use your kicks. And that's all you have. You just throw them all up. You just throw them. Rounds are shorter. It's 2 minutes. So you're just really in there throwing punches and kicks. And, you know, but when it comes to MMA, there's so many levels to the game. And even training wise, like you feel like your grappling's getting better. And then you're like, fuck, I have to go more. Like there's people that are so much better than me. And even the people at the highest level are still creating and still learning. So it's just like, a never ending cycle of just like getting better, then feeling like you're plateauing, then getting better. And I don't know, in the cage, it's hard to connect all of them and being able to like strike. So with the Muay Thai stuff, I formed myself into a striker. And then my first couple MMA fights, I was just striking. And I was like, this is kind of like all I knew. But once I got taken down and I stood up, and then I was like, oh, I forgot I can do this shit. So I got up and I started shooting takedowns and stuff like that, pinned them against the fence, and I was like, okay, like now it's all starting to click and come together. So it's a chess match, a lot more of a chess match than Muay Thai.
So at what point in your career that you decide or your coach decide that you were ready for those MMA fights with those more like engaging mind games?
Yeah. So it's funny. I went through like a weird thing where I would be hesitant and like I would throw a strike and then back out. I would throw a strike and then back out. I would throw a strike and then I would back out. And that wasn't like in MMA, that's not you can't be on your back foot that much. Because if you're on your back foot, you're losing in the judge's eyes. And my coach basically said he's not gonna put me in the cage, MMA cage, until I show that um I go out with a bang regardless. So I remember this. I fought a guy at 160, and I fight at 45 now. And this guy he was 17 and something, 17 and 11 or something. He had like 27 fights, and at that time I only had three. And he was like 6'1", 6'2", 160. I didn't cut any weight for the fight. I was actually eating to put on weight for the fight. And the first round I took, the second round, I got a standing 8 count. So he wins that round automatically. And then the third round, he was like, all right, this is where don't worry about the winning or losing this fight. It's a Muay Thai fight. He was like, I want to see you. I want to see what we have worked on. I want to see you improve. He was like, I want you to go in there, stand in front of him, and move forward. I moved forward for a minute and 30 seconds, and I ended up getting stopped. But he was like, all right, now you're ready. So I lost that fight, but in reality, I won because it propelled me forward into getting started in my MMA career.
So you just fought just over a month ago at Cage Titans 58, and you were there with all of your teammates. How does that feel to have like an entire team come to an event? And of course, you'll have that same vibe this Saturday.
Yeah. Cage Titans is different, man. Cage Titans, I bring all my Jersey people up too. So having our teammates there is one thing. They treat us well with the hotel and all of that good stuff. And we all go out to get food together after we weigh in and all of that stuff. So all that's really good. Like having people that are going to go to war with you tomorrow night, just at separate times. That's a good feeling. But Cage Titans having my family and like being able to have the crowd with me, it's it's good. It's cultivating. Like you just I feel it like in my heart when you have your family and friends there, plus your teammates. And then you go to Indiana, it's like I know my family and friends are watching on the TV, but like my first time I went to Indiana, it was majority boos. I won some cheers and claps by the end of the fight, but it was all booze. And in Indiana, we only have our teammates. That's who we ride with. We rock and roll with each other out there, and that's that. But it's very important to have your team with you, and it's once you get into your pro career and you get to that high of level, um, you might not be able to have your team like that on the same card as you. So we kind of soak this moment up as much as possible. We try and get as much of our team on this card as possible every time it comes around. Comes around once or twice a year. We try and get as many people to Indiana as possible.
So how do you think the general vibe of the events differ between Cage Titans? We have a very like Coliseum feel versus Indiana. Of course, I have no idea what that feels like.
So Indiana, it's like a Indiana is an actual like sports arena. So it fits like 20 something thousand. But they sell out the first time when I went there, they sold out like half of it. So when you're walking out, you see half of it filled up, and then you look to the other side and it's more of like it's dark over there, like there's nobody over there. But the Jumbotron above is very different. The walkout's a lot longer. The media production is like a bit not better, but it's a bit more advanced. Like they have the camera that hovers over the cage and stuff like that. Um, it's a good vibe out there. It's definitely in the middle of nowhere, which is like weird. You leave the stadium and it's just like a bunch of flat ground and trees and barely nothing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The Coliseum's different. Like the Coliseum feel is different. Being able to like look around in a 360 and everyone's there. Like you see everyone. It feels a lot louder at Cage Titans, but the moment feels a lot bigger in Indiana because of the size of the arena, the advancements in the equipment, the way they do things. It's a little different.
So you're fighting against Santi Munoz. Munoz, I think. Uh, People always say there's either wins or lessons. What's the biggest lesson that you got from that fight?
Yeah. Um, so I kind of neglected the mental aspect of the sport. You can't just tell yourself that you're going to do all of these good things. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to knock this guy out. Oh, I'm going to submit this guy. Oh, I'm going to take this guy down. And if it goes to decision, I know I'm going to it's more of like everyone can visualize themselves winning. Everybody can visualize themselves knocking someone out. But when do these athletes ever visualize themselves like what happens if I get rocked? How would I recover? What happens if I get taken down? How would I stand up? What happens if I'm losing the first two rounds and I have to knock him out in the third round? Like how would I react to that? So I talked to a sports psychologist. He's the sports psychologist at the University of Southern Maine. And I got in contact with him and we just talked about that stuff, like the difference between thoughts and thinking. Like we have 1,000 thoughts a day, but we don't spend time actually thinking and dissecting those thoughts. And that helped me a lot. I mean, Santi was a hell of a fighter. We went out in the first round and we exchanged punches and he found the way to beat me. And I couldn't in my mind, I kept seeing the fight standing, and once it went to the ground, I kind of like spiraled down. And now that I got into contact with that sports psychologist, I kind of know how to, if I go in that spiral, I know how to spiral back up. And there's different things that he taught me and that I've been trying to do during this camp to kind of jumpstart that thought process of spiraling back up and getting up out of a bad situation.
So your fight for RF Scrap 6 was booked before the Cage Titans fight. What made you want to take two fights?
Uh, that's Evo. That's how we do it. I mean, if we're healthy and we're able, We just fight. That's it's like if you have a goal and you want to be this you want to be a pro, you want to be this or that. It's like if you're healthy, why not compete as much as possible? Why not put yourself and expose yourself to all kinds of different body types, all kinds of different levels, all kinds of different arenas and promotions and all these different things? Why not? If you're healthy and you're able, why not? Why not? Like I see a lot of these amateurs, they try and take on all these like fights and they try their hardest to be undefeated as an amateur. They try their hardest to be 3 losses at max as an amateur. When in reality, your record resets as a pro. Why don't you just try and fight the hardest guys you can as an amateur? Why don't you fight the hardest and toughest people as an amateur? And then when you go pro, you're prepared for these kind of fights. You're prepared for these fights that you already know is going to be a war. You already know you're going to have trouble with one aspect of this person. I have once I have yet to have a fight where I looked at the person I was fighting and saying like, I think I could beat this guy everywhere. Like there's always something about my opponent that I have to worry about. And I love that about it. Like I don't find joy in fighting someone and being like, oh, I'm fighting someone who was 1 in 26, or like that doesn't bring any joy to me if I beat him. So that's how we do it at Evo. We compete. If we're able bodied, we compete and compete and compete.
So how's that week after Cage Titans as you're like debriefing this fight and preparing for the next fight immediately?
Yeah, I mean Nate helps us a lot with that. Nate is a very he said this the other day. He said, I don't care if we go to Indiana and all you guys knock your opponents out in 30 seconds. We'll come back and I will have something for each and every one of you guys to work on that you should have done better. And that's immediately how it is. He was like, you take your one day off, you come back to the gym, you don't need to train, but we're going to talk about your fight and we're going to figure out what you did wrong, what you did right, what we liked about the fight, what we didn't like about the fight, and what we do moving forward. And we did that and we worked on these aspects of my game and a lot of it was mental. And that's really like the biggest thing I've learned from the end of Cage Titans to flying out tomorrow to Indiana is training my mental and staying out of that spiral. You know what I mean? So it's always a constant thing. There's no breaks. If you're taking a physical break, you're training your mental. If you're taking a mental break, then you're in the gym. You're doing little things like lifting weights or something like that.
Does RF Scrap have a bigger cage than Cage Titans, by the way?
Uh, Lindsay asked me that question, and I think it's the same size, but it felt bigger because of the arena.
Just
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's the same size. It should be the same size.
Because I thought Cage Titans had the smallest cage for like a regional scene, and then Lindsay comes to me after her second fight. The NF cage is much smaller than that one.
The NEF cage is small. I haven't even fought in the NEF cage yet, but I heard their cage is small. And Cage Titans is big. Combat Zone has the biggest cage.
Yeah.
I had a tie fight for Combat Zone, and that was the biggest cage by far.
So how does the side of the cage affect you in any way, if it does?
Um, Given that I'm a striker and I like to move around and set traps and stuff like that, I'm big into the counter punches and counter strikes. So I like to retreat a little bit and let them think that they're, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so having that space helps a lot. But when implementing the grappling in MMA, I kind of like the idea of having a smaller cage because I get to fall back on pushing them back towards the cage, or I know I have the cage behind me. But I haven't fought in a small cage yet, so we'll see how I'll have a better answer when that happens.
So you're fighting Sam Parker, which according to Tapology has never fought before, so this is his debut. Is there anything you know about him?
Yeah, I mean, I watched he was a bodybuilder. I'm sure he still bodybuilds. Um, so he should be in shape. I watched he had a couple kickboxing fights. He's southpaw. I know he's a southpaw, and that's pretty much it, man. I mean, like like I said, it's the different body types. I've never fought somebody who's dedicated their life to being strong and looking the best and being as conditioned as possible. So I expect nothing but him to be conditioned, him to be ready to fight, and dealing with the challenges of fighting a southpaw. I know he has good striking. I don't know what his grappling's like, but I know he'll be in shape, and I know he'll be there to strike. And I've never dealt with someone who dedicated, like I said, dedicated their life to being in shape and bodybuilding. So look, it's another body type to, it's another puzzle to figure out. It's another chess game that I got to figure out. And yeah, I'm excited for it.
What your fans expect from this fight?
Evolution, definitely. They're gonna see a different kind of fight. Um, I put together striking a lot, and that's what people usually worry about when they fight me is the striking. But I'm going in there and I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna look like a MMA fighter for sure. I'm gonna mix it all up, 100%.
So you've been to four decisions, two that you won, two that you've lost. A big thing that people are talking about is the combat sports judging. What are your thoughts on that?
Oof, you go down the rabbit hole with this one, but um, I I just don't think that all aspects of the game are taken into account when judging. Um, they've adopted the 10-9 boxing rule. Um, they've adopted the 10-9 boxing rule, and that's boxing. That's just punches. You're dealing with takedowns. You're dealing with submissions. You're dealing with clinch. You're dealing with kicks. You're dealing with knees. You're dealing with elbows, and the amount of different aspects that should be taken into consideration when judging an MMA fight aren't taken into consideration. Um, and this has nothing to do with my wins or losses. I've never had a decision where I've felt like I didn't win or I felt like I won and I've lost. All of my decisions have felt pretty fair to me. Um, but even in the UFC, like especially recently, you've seen some crazy fights that weighed to the other person, and it all seems to be swaying towards the new up and coming star when they fight someone who's a vet, and it's just weird. It's fishy. It's definitely fishy.
So what do you do outside of combat sports? I know you mentioned you go to college.
Yeah. I graduated actually in 2022. Yeah, 2022.
Nice.
And so I was substitute teaching and I was working at the gym as well, but I just got a job last week, first big boy job. I'm going to be the program director and summer camp director at a place called XL Sports World in Saco. It's just like a big youth sports facility that has like soccer fields and basketball courts and all that stuff. So I'll be running a bunch of the programs and directing all of the hiring and all of that good stuff there. So I'm super excited about that to be starting that when I get back from Indiana. So I also play a lot of video games. That's my downtime. I love playing video games with my friends from back home. I don't really get to see my family much, so when I can connect with them through the game, it brings a little bit of joy.
What you playing a lot of right now?
Call of Duty, man. That new COD is it gets some hate, but I love it. It's probably one of the more competitive Call of Duties that have been out since like Black Ops 2. And I've been getting into a little bit of MLB. Um, but yeah, no, it's all COD right now. It's all COD.
So what are some of your short-term and long-term goals? Short-term, let's say under a year and a half. Long-term, over a year and a half.
Hmm. Under a year and a half. Um, Under a year and a half in life, it'll be just comfortability. Like I just want to find a way to be comfortable with every aspect of my life. When it comes to the fight game, my short-term goal would be experience. Just get as much experience as possible. Disregard the wins and the losses because when I do go pro, I'm 0-0. I want to fight and get as much experience as possible. I want to learn the most about myself, the most about myself as a fighter, and move on from there. Long term, obviously want to be a pro fighter and take it as far as I can. I don't really have an end goal with this fight and stuff. I've always wanted to be a professional athlete. Everybody envisions that growing up, or a majority of people envision that. And I've envisioned that for years. And for those same amount of years, I've been told I couldn't be that. I was like 200 pounds freshman year of college, out of shape. And now I'm fighting at 145. You tell me I was fighting at 145 when I was a freshman in college, I'd laugh in your face. So I'm taking this sport for the long run, and I'm taking it for everything that it has to offer. If the UFC is what it has to offer, then that's that. Then I'll take it there and I'll keep running with it from there. But you're gonna get 100% out of me through this sport, 100% of me through every fight, 100% of me through every camp, no matter what. And as far as it can take me, then that's as far as I'm willing to go.
So we're gonna hit just some of your favorite stuff. If you want to give a story, you can give a story. If you just want to hit the favorite, move on. You get hit the favorite, move on. Your favorite fight
Um,
on this card besides yourself.
ooh, uh, Sean Wakefield. Um, when I first started at Evo, me and Sean were basically partners. We both tried to start to get on the fight team at the same time. So it was me and Sean for the first year and a half of me training. And Sean was a all-state wrestler. Little did I know, and he would just smash me every single day. And towards like the end of the first 6 months, Nate ended up telling me that he was 16 at the time, and I was like, all right, I just got smashed for the past 6 months by a 16-year-old, and now he's fighting for a belt at Art of Scrap, and he's a great fighter. He's a great kid, keeps his head down, and I love training with that kid, man. And I'm super excited for him to take advantage of this opportunity.
Your favorite big league fighter.
Connor got me into it. I'm not a big fan of Connor right now. I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of his past, but he's a little sketchy right now.
Yep.
Um, right now, I like Corey Sandhagen. I like I like Rafael Fiziev. I'll go with Corey Sandhagen right now. I like Corey Sandhagen. I like his mindset towards everything, and I like his style.
Your favorite regional fighter besides yourself and your teammates.
My favorite regional fighter besides myself and teammates. I might have to go with my boy Hassan Graham. Big dog. It's my boy. He was there for my first Muay Thai fight. It was his debut. And we kicked it in the back at weigh-ins and we just talked for like that whole time. We talked for an hour. And ever since then, we fought on the same card 3 times now. And we're always kicking it and shooting DMs back and forth to each other. So yeah, I'm going with Hassan Gray.
Sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Your favorite submission hit.
Mm, when's this coming out?
Should add this. It's gonna be before your fight, so don't release anything confidential.
Um, I'll say I like the like a pistol choke. It's like when they have you against the fence, you put it under their arm, and you go on top of the bicep and cover the top of the head. Like this, I like that one. I like triangles, regular triangles. I like arm triangles. I don't do none of that foot shit. None of that foot locking.
Your favorite one of your fights.
Favorite one of my fights. I think my favorite fight was my first one in Indiana for sure. That was my first time coming into the full MMA scheme of things. We both got fight of the night. I mixed in takedowns. I mixed in getting up. I mixed in spinny back kicks. I mixed in. We both rocked each other. I got slammed. He got slammed. It was an amazing fight, and that's like kind of the first time where I was like, all right, I was shown pretty much everything, and I put my all into this fight, and I came out with the unanimous decision. It was an amazing feeling.
Your favorite fight to watch that's not yours.
I like Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. I like um I like Connor versus Khabib. I like um I love the Izzy and Alex Pereira fight now. I got chills watching that, so I would definitely rewatch that over and over again. And what else? I like the Sanhagen and Cheeto Vera fight. That was dominance. I like that one.
No mention of Alkanani and Barrett.
That's my man, bro. It's that fight was insane. And Mo has also been a huge fighter that has helped me and my fight game tremendously. He's not only is he one of the best fighters, if not the best fighter in New England, but he walks around everywhere as the most humble guy, and he is always willing to help and give his advice and his thought process on everything. And he's coming with us to Indiana. He was supposed to be on the Indiana card, but he's kept his plane ticket. And he's coming out there to support us, and I don't know what it would be like without him there. So I'm super excited for him to come up there with us to Indiana, and I love that guy to death, man. He's been there with me from the start.
How's he doing, by the way? How's he healing up and stuff?
He's good. He's about as 100% as he is right now. He's chilling. He's got a fire under his ass for sure. He's yeah. The next Mo Al Kanani that shows his face to whatever cage he graces next, yeah, it's gonna be something special for sure.
Two more questions. If you could give yourself a message to February 2022 before you made your Muay Thai debut, what would that be?
I live by some. I got this tat right here. It says good. Um, it's good because my football coach would always say good no matter what. If something bad happened, it was good because it changed you into being a better person. And I would say that to myself before I even made my Muay Thai debut because I would know what I'm saying to myself. Like I would understand. I wouldn't go into crazy detail and say, you're gonna have this fight, you're gonna have this. It's just good. Just keep going and everything will be all right. You'll be good.
And win, lose, or draw this Saturday, what do you want to happen? What do you want your opponent to think about you, the fans to think about you, your family, your friends, all that stuff?
Yeah, man. I mean, I do this I do this stuff for obviously I want to take this as far as I can and eventually I would love to be able to feed my family through this sport. Um, but the sport's a lot of personal growth for me. Like I've the amount of years that I've been told I can't do something that I put my mind to, this is to prove myself right and to prove them wrong. But I know proving myself right proves them wrong automatically. So for the fans are, I always put on a show. I always resonate well in the arena, and I don't even know what I do, but I just do. And they know they're going to get a show. So win, lose, or draw, I know that I'm going to put on a show. My opponent, I don't know if this is a bucket list thing for him, but you can't scratch something off the bucket list with someone that's trying to do this to feed their family. And win, lose, or draw, he's going to know I came in there to fight for something bigger than just I'm a fighter. Um, and my teammates, man, I'm the first fight, so I'll get to kick off the show and I'll get to go in there and the locker room and tweak out and hopefully give them some fire. Just walk in there and just spill all of that energy all over them so they can just go out there and handle business just like I did.
Awesome. Any last message you want to say? Any sponsors you want to shout out or anything?
Yeah. Shout out to Two Fight Bros. Those are my boys. Um, one of the more real sponsors in the game for real. Never have to doubt them if they're going to be in your corner or not. Whenever you have a fight, they're always hitting you up and sending you care packages and stuff like that. Shout out to Caged In as a sponsor as well. It's my boy Chris. And then shout out to Evo, the gym, and all the coaches. Rattle off the coaches real quick. CJ, Bruce, Keegan, Tay Tay, Nate, Kramer, and then we had a strength and conditioning coach. Name was Allison. This camp we did a bunch of CrossFit style workouts once twice a week, and those fucking sucked. And it'll show in the cage when we're all ready to go another round at the end of our fights. But that shit sucked. But I appreciate her as well. So shout out to all my coaches and then my family as well. Love all of them.
All right. Awesome. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you.